Hello everyone, wherever you are watching from all over the world, welcome to this Google Form Mastery course from taking you from the beginners level to the advanced level. So in module 1, we are looking at understanding Google Form, and we are going to be having 8 lessons from the introduction to Google Form to how we can access Google Form. We will look at the interface, we look at the various questions tab in question type in lesson 4 and 5, and then in lesson 6 we are going to be building our first form, and then we'll look at basic validations in Google Form, and we'll conclude the module by this with design and branding of our form. And then we'll proceed to module 2, where we start with how we can put our form into section, how we can sectionalize our form. And we look at conditional logic, the one we call branching, and then we look at data validation mastery, more of that, and then we look at how we can integrate multimedia into our form, and then we look at sending and sharing our form in module 2. And in module 3, we're going to look at quizzes and educational tools, how we can set up the quiz mode, answer key and feedback, and the best quiz settings that we can have, and how we can release grades to our audience. In module 4, we'll be looking at data management and analysis, where we are going to look at response management, and then how we can integrate our form with our Google Sheet. And then also we look at data analysis in Sheet, how we can manage responses, and how we can set up notification for our form. And then we look at the form of security and the kind of control that we can exercise over our form. And then module 5, we will look at top add-ons for Google Form, how we can limit responses, choice eliminator, form timer, form builder, and Certify'em. So all these add-ons, we're going to look at them, how we can actually integrate them with our form to make our form much more powerful and useful. And then if you are interested in getting certified for this particular course, you can scan this QR code on your screen, and then that will lead you to where you can take the assessment, and automatically, if you pass the assessment, automatically you will receive a certificate, just like I cover all of this in this particular course. And if you have any reason whatsoever to contact me, you can scan this QR code, you are able to contact me. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the course. Enjoy it. Alright, hello, welcome back. So we begin this course by, of course, logging into our Google account so that we can have access to the Google form. So to do that, I'm going to launch, and then as you can see that I am already logged in. You can see this icon that I have a Gmail logged in already. So if you want to access your own form, you need to log into your Google account, and then you have access to the Google form. And then a quick tip is that you can also access your form on your mobile, on your desktop, on your tablet, and any other smart device that you may have. So it's not only limited to a laptop, but it's better when you have it on the computer so that you can have better resolution and have a lot of space to manipulate your form. Now we begin by, of course, accessing our form. We can begin by saying, okay, we can say, okay, we can type forms.name, and then you click on it once you are logged into your Gmail account, and then a name form and a title form will be open for you. As you can see that we have a new form. Now, there are other ways in which we can use to access our form. Now, for example, from via here, this menu bar, you can hover over this Google Apps, click on it, and then you see a whole lot of Google applications, and then you can locate the form. This is the form, and then you can click on it from here, and then you have a kind of view in this way, so you can access the form in that way also. Now also you can also access your form from your drive. Of course, if you click here on this form and then you click on the Google Drive, you have the opportunity to access your Google form from your drive, because you simply click on new. Once you click on new, and then you have the form. So from your Google Drive, You can create a blank form, you can create a blank quiz, or you can choose from a template. So a few ways to access your form. Now I'm going to close all of this. I'm going to close this also. Now one quick tip is that you can of course rearrange these applications. Now you notice that if I want to access the form is a long way down. Now what I can do is that I can customize this. I'll simply click on this pencil edit icon. I'll click on it, and then it says drag and drop app. So I'll locate my form, the app, and then I'll pick it to drag it to very close to where I am, as you can see. So it is very close, and then I'll click on done. Now the next time when I come to this app and I click, I have my form very close, so I don't have to scroll all the way down again. So you can rearrange your app in such ways. So that's one quick tip. So let's just click and access our form. So we have the form. This is the icon. If we click here, it takes you back to the home page. We click on this menu, the main menu, and then you have access to doc, the sheet, the slide, form. Also, you can click on setting right from here. You have help and feedback, and then you also have your Google Drive right from here. So you can access all of these right from here. So now let's take a look at some of the things that we can do with the Google Form. Now the Google Form is a free online tool that you can use to create surveys, quizzes. You can use it for data collection. Very easy and very quickly. It's very popular, and it's something that is very useful for everyone. If you're an educator and you work in HR, anything, you're a student and you want to conduct research, you can actually use the Google Form to gather, collect data, and then analyze. So everything works, and it's a tool that is free, and you can create unlimited number of forms. So all you need is just to set up a Google account, and then you have access to it for business purposes, for survey, for automation, and a whole lot of other things. Now when you open your form for the first time, you have certain things. You have the option to start a new form, and then you can create a blank form. Now you have some pre-installed templates. You can see them right from here, and then you have the option to, if you want to explore the gallery, the more you can explore. And then if you have created form before, you have the recent form be displayed in all these places if you have created any form before in the past. Now the gallery, you can click here, and then you have template that you can use. Just click on it and you modify them. For example, you have template that you can use to collect contact information. You can use that. You have template that you can use for reservation. You have party invite. You have a lot of event registration template. You can there are a whole lot of template that are there that you can explore, and then you have the option to create your own template from scratch, and all of these we are going to explore. So I'll simply go back to the home page of the Google Form. Now other thing that we should talk about is that how do we create our form? Since we have of course explored the interface, we've learned how to access our form. So how do we create our form? Let's take a water break and then we'll come back. All right, welcome back. Now let's just create our first form, and so that we can explore the dashboard and the interface of our form. Like I said, if you want to choose from existing template, you have the option to of course do that, but we want to create a blank form so that we can look at the interface and some other things. So let me simply go back, then I'll click on blank form, and then that should open up for us. Now I want to of course hide this address bar so that I can maximize my screen. So to do that, I'm going to click on F11, and that should give me a full screen like this. So click on F11, and then I have that full screen. So now from our form, we want to look at the interface of our form. let's explore. So we have, so once you open a new form, you are going to have something like on title form as the heading, as the title. You have the form icon that you can click on the icon and then it takes you back to the home page. And then we have these three that says question. We explore all of this later. We have responses, we have setting, and then we have other icons that we can explore right from here. We have this to be the theme. We have the customized theme, we have the preview, you have the undo and the redo, you have copy respondents link. You want to share the form, and then you have publish, and then we click on these three dots. We have a whole lot of other options which we are going to explore them as we go in this particular lesson. Now we have our untitled form, and then we have, this is where you put in the name of your form, you write a description here. Now from here we have a whole lot of tools to work with, and then we have this very important, we have this floating toolbox, because it goes with you anywhere you go, it goes with you. And then we have other icons here that we can use to, of course, manipulate our form. So all of these, we are going to take a look at them as we go in this lesson. Now, for us to understand how to go about creating our first form, so we are going to create our first form, and then we are going to look at certain things when we create our form. Now here, I'll simply select here and then click on it here. I will say Ctrl A. Now from here, I can type the title of my form. I can type the title of my form. So let me just let's create a form. Now let's say in our organization we want to create a staff digital skills survey. So I'll simply name it as a. So this is the name of our form. That our form that we want to create. We want to actually create a survey and want to explore the digital skill level of the employee, the staff that we have in our organization. So I have the title, so I'll simply put in the title here. And then secondly, if you notice here, as I typed, I have the title of the survey here, but here it still says untitled form. So what I need to do, I simply have to come here. So once I click here, it automatically pick up what is here, but that does not mean that you cannot change what is here. So you can simply decide the name that you want to give to your form. So it's always very good that you give your form a name. And then in most cases, the Google form will pick up whatever it is here, but you can actually change that. So now that we have that here, if you hover your mouse over this place, you have what we call, it says move to folder. That is, you can actually select a folder in which you want to save this form in your drive. And then you can, of course, tick this to say, oh, this is a high priority form, and then so that it will be available to you anywhere at any time. So I will simply uncheck. And then we have a writing that says all changes saved in drive. So as we create our form, whatever we are doing, it is being saved in our Google Drive in real time, so that you don't lose anything whatsoever. So we have the title of our form. Now the next thing is that we can give our form a description. We want to give it a description. Now note that once I click here, I have some things that tools that I can work with. For example, I have bold, italics, I can italicize, I have underline, I can insert a link, and I can clear formatting. Now let's see how those works. Once I underline, highlight rather, I can bold, I can italicize, I can underline, I can decide to add a link. If I want to put a link, I'll simply put the link here, and then I can, of course, clear the formatting. So all the formatting I've done, I can click here, and then all the formattings are gone. But let me just apply the bold format to it, and then we have the formatting in such a way. So our form, we need to add a description. to our form. So let me add the description and then we'll come back. Now we have our form description. The description actually says we want to understand your level of digital skill so that we can plan, train, and support program. Please answer honestly. So this is the form description. So our staffs in the organization knows that we actually want to assess their digital skill, and then so that we can make plans for training for them. So this is the description of the form. At the same time, I can highlight it, I can give it a bold, I can italicize, I can underline, I can do a lot of, and then we also have number list and number bullet in case I want to have a list, and then I can clear the formatting. So in this case, I'm going to italicize this text, and then I'm going to bold it, and then we have it that way. So now that we have our title, we have our description there, we can go ahead and begin to create our form. Now, once we create our survey, we want to create our survey, and then we will begin to add our question right from here. And then once we have a question, there are multiple options that we can choose. And like I said, we have a floating toolbox. It goes anywhere you go with you as long as this Google form is concerned. So from here, we click on this drop down, we have a whole lot of answer type that we can pick. We have the short answer, the paragraph, the multi-choice. So we are going to create this survey that will explain all of these answer type that we can include in our form. And then we also look at all of these buttons, and also we can add image and all of that. So we have now, but before we go further, let me quickly explain this. We have here the theme that we can change colors, the text and all of that later. Here we have the preview mode. If I click here, you want to see how your form is actually looking like. So this is how the form is actually looking like. That is the preview mode. So I'm going to go back to the preview mode, and then here you have the undo and the redo. Here I have the and then we have the send button. That of course we are creating a form now, but if you don't publish this form, nothing's going to happen to you. Nobody will be able to fill it, and nobody will actually know that it existed. So until you publish your form, that is when you can share it with people, and then people can respond to that survey. So we'll come back to all of that later. And then firstly, we want to begin to add. So we first of all, we want to say we take the full name of the staff in our organization, and then we want to pick the kind of answer that we want. A short answer. Of course, the form is very smart, and it has actually detected that, oh, this should be a short answer. And then another thing that we can do with the short answer is that we can go ahead and say, okay, this form, this that I've created, this block I've created, I want to duplicate. So this is duplicate. I can click here, it will duplicate this question, this block, or I can click on here that will give me a name. So I'll simply duplicate. This is very useful. So from here, I want to say, okay, let's have your email. We want to have your email addresses, and then it should also be a short answer, because the email addresses should ranges from I don't know, but it should be a short answer. Then another thing that we can do is that we can come here. We have this floating toolbox. We can add a new question. We can import question. We are going to treat that later. We can add titles and descriptions. We can add image, we can add video, and then we can add sections. So all of these, we are going to actually look at them later. So we've actually seen the short answer here, and then we've actually seen another short answer here. So from here, in this very one, we can make this question compulsory. That is, we toggle this on. That is, whoever is filling this form, they have to fill this before they are able to submit. If they didn't fill this, the form will not actually allow them to submit, because we need their name, and at the same time too, we want to have their email addresses. So I'm going to make this also compulsory. So we've looked at the short answer, Then we can look at other type of answers that we have. So I'll click here and then we'll go to the next, and there I want to say, okay, your department. Let me have your department, and then we want to also make this require. It's very important. Now, what type of answer do we want here? What type of answer? We don't want a short answer. So actually we can pick from all of these, but let's go for a drop down. So we'll click on a drop down. So we are going to look at all the type of question that we can apply all these answer types. So for department, we want to select drop down, and then we want to have our department here. So we can say, okay, let's have IT, that's one. Let's have HR. Now let's have let's say marketing. We can say marketing. Now let's have let's say production, and then let's just limit it to those four. So we have those four, then we have a drop down. So we can make this required, or we can just say, okay, optional. Now, but let's make it required because we want to know their department. Now we have the full name, the email address, we have the department. You can go ahead and add a new question. So we've looked at two different answer types: short answer and the drop down. Now, what again can we have? What kind of question again can we have? So I'll quickly put all of these questions and then we'll come back. All right, welcome back. So we simply look at the form that we have created. It's a digital skill survey that we want to find out from our organization. And then here we have the full name. We want a short answer, and then we want to have it required, that is compulsory. Now, the second question, we have it as an email. At the same time, we want a short answer, and then we make it compulsory also. So they have to fill this form. And then the third question, we have it that we want to know which department they belong to, and then we have it as a drop down. Of course, we have IT, HR, and others, so we have it as a drop down, and then we also made it compulsory. And then if you look at the fourth question, the question is that how will you rate your overall digital skill? So we want to have it as a linear scale. That is, we want to have it as a linear scale. Now we have number one, the simplest to be the beginner, and then 5 to be expert. Now note that we can actually increase this, so maybe around 10. So 1 will be beginner, and then 10 will be expert, but I think 5 is actually very okay. So we have it to be linear scale. So we want to, of course, make use of all this answer type to see which question do we normally apply this answer type to. So this type of question, we want to have it from a beginner to expert, so the people can of course rate themselves. Now we want to make that to be optional. We don't want to make it compulsory. And then we go to the next question that says, which of the following software tool do you use regularly? Now we want to have that to be a checkbox. A checkbox. Now I'll explain why. Because a checkbox actually allows you to pick more than one options. We can select multiple options from a checkbox. That's why this checkbox is actually very good for this type of question. So we select a checkbox. So we want to see whether they use Office regularly, whether it's a Google Workspace and others like that. And then we go on to here. We say we want to actually choose multiple choice. We want to know how confident are you in using Excel or whatsoever. So we have that question. Is a multiple choice. A multiple choice will only allow you to pick one, not multiple. So we have that question type to be a multiple choice. And then here we have, as we go further in our survey, we want to have, okay, describe a recent task where you successfully use digital tool to solve a work problem. So for that, we want to have a long essay, a paragraph, and that's why I decided to pick paragraph, because we actually want our staff to write that kind of a digital tool that they used recently. And so a long text will actually work for that, a paragraph. So we have that. And then we have these where we have, okay, how do you normally access online learning when or digital resources. So we have the rows. Now we are using multiple grade choice, multiple choice grade rather. So that is the one we are using. So we want to, in the row, normally we presented with two options. We have the row and we have the column. So in the row, we have morning, we have afternoon, and then we have evening. And then in the column section, we want to have often, sometime, and rarely. So we want to have the three, and then we have the multiple choice grid. So that is this type of answer option is perfect for this type of question, so that people can select ranges from what they select. Now, by the time we preview, you see some of these things that I talked about. And then for this, we have the checkbox grid. Said, which digital training topic are you mostly interested in? So in our rows, we provided all these that our staff may choose from, and then we've provided whether they have interest in the training or they are not interested in the training. So we have the column to carry these two, we have the row to carry all of this. And then we see that we say, when will you likely attend this training? It's talking about date, and then we pick the date option. So our staff can come here and select a date. It's a date picker, is already there. And then one quick tip is that sometimes when you don't want to have the year, because sometimes you may want to collect people's date of birth. I've filled such form before, and you don't want to include the year by default. So you simply come here and then you uncheck. It said include year. You check this, uncheck it, and then you only have the month and the day, so that you have that. So, but for now, we want to include the year into our calendar. And then we have the one of time. So we pick the time option. We want people to put in time options for that. And then we have this last question that says, upload a sample of a digital document you created recently. That's a question. And in this case, the most suitable option that we can choose is a file upload, because we want people to upload files. So we click on these, and then you click on continue, and then you should have this option. So we have the file upload, and then we have this option. So here you want to allow specific type of file alone. We don't want to allow any type of file. So here, and then we have to turn this on. We turn this on. So I'll come here and turn this on, and then I will specify the type of file that I want to allow. So can allow a document, I can allow a spreadsheet. Since we are talking about digital document, we can allow a PDF. We don't want videos. We can allow presentation, maybe slide and all of that. We don't want drawing, we don't want images, we don't want audio. So these are the type of file format that we want our staff to, of course, upload as a sample. And then we can, they can upload up to 510, but let's just keep it to 1. And then we have the maximum file size that they can upload. They can change that also, but I think 10 MB is a reasonable size, the option that we have given. So we have all of that. Now, if you look at the survey that we have created, you will see that we have made use of almost all the answer options except ratings, which of course we can do that. I can click here to add a new question. I'll click here to add a new question. So I can just put a question that, how will you rate this survey? So how will you rate this survey? I can come here and choose rating. Is there? So you can see 5 to 1. So 1, so that's the highest. You can choose more, maybe 10. You can see it. So I will simply keep it to 5. I think 5 is okay. 5 will be very highly, and then low 1 will be low. So that's that. So as you can see, like I said, we have made use of all these answer options. So, and you've seen that you can actually apply all of these to when you are creating your form, depending on the type of survey that you want to create. So all these answer options are very important. So you simply have to know the type of question that you apply them to. Now that we have created our first survey in Google Form. We want to preview it. If you click here, you can preview it here and see how your form will actually look like. And you see all of that it actually look like. And then we have that. So I'll go back from the preview mode. Now, one thing that we have to do is that, like I said, if you don't publish this form, nobody will be able to access it. So for us to share it with our employee, for them to fill, we have to first and foremost, we have to publish. So I'll come here and publish. I'll click on publish. I'll click on publish. Now we have the form published, and then we have a link, a URL link that we can copy. I can copy it, or again, if I say save, I can have the link, I can shorten the link, that URL link, I can shorten it and simply copy that particular link for me to share with others. So I'll leave that for now. Now that we have published, now we can, of course, preview and fill this form and see how relevant some of the answer options that we have picked for some of our questions. So what I will do right now is that if you want to share it, you can click here that says share, and then you can share with no, for now it is restricted. You can manage that to be anyone with the link, and then you can begin to type people's email addresses, as many people that you want to share it with, or you can simply copy the link. If you want to send the link via WhatsApp, any other platform to people, you can simply copy this link. So I'll copy this link, I'll click on done, and then the first thing I will do is that I will fill this survey, and let's fill it together and let's see what we are going to have. So I'll come to a new browser, I'll open a new tab, and then I'll paste the link, and then we have the survey. So now you see that full name is required. If I don't answer this full name, I'm not able to submit this form. You can see it's saying that this is a required question, so I have to, of course, fill. So let me just fill that. So that's my name. I can put in my email address. Just put in your email address for this. So let me just put this email address. Of course, I can select my department, which is also required. So let me say HR. Now from here, how you rate the overall digital skill? I say, you can see this is the linear scale. You can rate from 1, you can rate it 2, so you can only have the option to pick 1. So I will just say, okay, let me have it to be 4, of course. And then this one say, which of the following software do you use regularly? Of course, this is a checkbox that you can, of course, select multiple options. So I can say I use Microsoft Office regularly. I can say I use the Google Workspace regularly. I can say I use the social media regularly. So I may want to select these 3 options. So the checkbox actually gives you the option to select multiple answers, so multiple choice. So that's very good. So in case you want your respondent to actually do that, so I'll select these 3, and then the next one say, how confident are you? So this is a multi-choice question. You only have the option to select 1. You cannot select 2, as you can see. So you only have the option to select 1. Now here it's a long paragraph question that you have the option to type to describe, whatever you do. So you have the option to do all of that here. Now we'll move to the next one, which is of course question that, of course, you can do this. You can do this. You can only select 1. So in the morning, if you don't access the digital resources in the morning, I'll pick rarely. In the afternoon, I'll pick sometimes. In the evening, I may want to say often, of course. So you have the option to select each one. You cannot select multiple options on the same line. That is the multi-choice grade answer type. Now this, we actually apply the checkbox grade there. That is the one that we apply. If you look at our survey, we come to this very place. Yeah, you can see that we apply the checkbox grid here. So if we go to our survey, If you want to say, are you interested in this? I'm interested. You can say, I'm not interested in this, or you can say, I'm interested. So you can say that you can select multiple, and then you can say, I'm interested. You can say, I'm not interested, and then you have answered that. The day and the month, you simply select and pick a date, and then a date picker is there for you. The time, you can select whether AM or PM. So let me select PM. I want to say, okay, 3 p.m. and here the file upload, I can simply upload the file, and you can see that it says that upload one supported file, and then it's actually named those file PDF document presentation spreadsheet, and then it also gave us the maximum size that they can upload, which is 10 MB. So I can go ahead and click on here, whereby I'll be able to upload a document. I can upload, browse for my computer, local computer. I can go to my drive. I can check recent. As you can see, I can check recent. I can go to my drive and then just browse through, and then maybe I'm able to get something. So let me upload this, and then I'm able to upload this. And then ratings, I can say, oh, this is a very good survey, and then I'll give it 5 star. And then you see beautifully we have created our first form and been able to use all the answer type for various kinds of questions. So what do? I'm going to submit the survey, and then the survey is submitted. So this time around, I have the option to submit another response. But as we go forward, we look at how we can modify all of these settings in case you only want your responders to submit only one response. So our response has been recorded. Now, other thing we can do before we close this module is that we go to our form. Now, we can actually do some branding to it, and as you can see that I have one response already. So that the one I feel is already recorded. So it says responses says 1. So we explore all of that later. Now we can brand our form. Of course, you know, by the time you just open, you have the Google default color of purple. If I'm not mistaken, you can see it here. You can see it here, and then here also you can see that is purple, light purple like that. But we can actually modify all of that to suit our purpose. So what do? Now, to change the header, the theme, the color, the font, you simply head to the theme. Click on this icon, theme, and then we have it. So you can change the header. We have this to be Roberto. That's the font, the text style now, the font. So I can say, okay, I want to change it to Merriweather, and then you see that automatically it changes the header. I can increase the font. This is 24. I can decide to bring it down to 20, and then you see it. So you can customize this. And then the question, that is these questions, what font do I want all these questions to appear in? Now I can come here and select any of these stuff here. So I have the Roberto. I can say medium, normal, semi-bold. I can put that, and then I can select the size to 14 to make it a bit bigger. So you can see the text. I can change that also. So let me have this. Let me put in this, and then we have all of that. So we have that. I can change the font size also to, let me say, okay, let me put it to 12 to make it bigger and look better. Now at the same time, I can change the color. You can see it is purple right now. I may decide to change it to blue, as you can see. I may decide to change it to green, as you can see. And then the background color, I may decide to change it to this color, as you can see. So you have all of these options, and then you have this that you can add color and even customize whatever you want to do. Now, another thing that we should note is that we can add an image to our header. For example, I may choose image. If I click on image, to header, you have different templates that you can upload. You have the themes, work and school. You have illustrations. You have a whole lot from Google: travels, night out, weddings, keys. Depending on the type of form that you are creating, you may want to have this. So, but since we are creating a survey about digital skill, we can have it as work and school. We can look for an image that represents work, or we have the option also to upload an image, or if you have a photo on your drive or on your Google photo, you can upload from here. Currently, I don't have any. You can upload an image if you have an image that you want to upload, or you can simply choose from the template that we have here. So let's just look for an image that has to do with education, something like that we can use if you have that. So we can scroll down and down. Oh, we have this that has to do with reading, science, or let's just pick this, and then we click on insert, and then we want to insert it, and then we have it. So we have an image. And then one quick tip is that by the time you upload an image, that image, Google will automatically change the color, the theme color of your form to the color of that image, as you can see. But you can come again and choose whichever color that you want. You can choose that, but I think this is fine, and then this is okay. So we have all of that, and then we have it. So now if we go to preview, we'll see how our form is actually looking like. And then we have it, so you can see the color, you can see the image header, you can see that the form is published, you can see that we can copy responders link, and then we see we can fill the form and see how beautiful and well arranged it is. So this is the concept. Thank you so much. We have created our first form in Google Form. We'll go further by looking at how we can create a smarter and, of course, add more control to our form in the second module. I'll see you then. Thank you so much. Alright, welcome to module 2 of this mastery course for Google Form. In this module, we'll be focusing on logic and structure. We are now in the intermediate level, and we'll be having 5 lessons in this module, as the case may be. And we're going to start with how we can actually break our form into sections in case we are having a long form. So to access our form, I'll simply head to where we have the Google app, and then I'll click on forms, and then we have our form. So this is the first form that we created in module 1, where if you look at it, we are able to use all of the answer question type in Google, and I was able to explain all of the concepts. So we still have the form here, and now we are going to need a new form. So I'll simply click here to head back, and then I'll click on blank form. I want to create blank form, and our attention will be on logic and structure, like I've said. And the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to give our form a title. So I will simply paste the text that I've copied to my clipboard, and then we have this. So this is the title of the form that we actually want to create in this section: staff digital skill and training needs survey. And then we can add a description, as the case may be, as we have learned in the first module. So this is the description. Now this survey helps us to understand your content, your current digital skill and training preferences, and we've stated in the description that some of the questions may lead to additional sections, which we are going to, of course, create in this very module. Now that we have added the title and the description, we can name our form by simply clicking here, and then Google Form is able to pick it up, and then we have a name for our form, which is of course very good. Now the first thing that we want to ask is that we want to say, okay, give us your full name, and then no, Google Form is very smart and is able to pick it up. Okay, a full name should be a short answer, which of course I will agree with it. Of all the answer type here, we should have a short answer for a full name. Now we can click here to add more questions, or we can simply click on the duplicate icon here to duplicate this very question. So I'll simply click here. I want to duplicate, and then I will say, okay, I need you to give me your email address. That's email. You want to collect basic information about our staff, and then that should be a short answer also. And then I want to say here again that, okay, let's have your age. A very good information, we need that. And of course we can go ahead to say let's add a new one, or let's duplicate. Now here we can come here to say, okay, we need your department, because we actually want that department. Now the department, we want to control the kind of answer that will be entered. So I want a drop down. I want to have a drop down for that. So here I can say IT, and here I can head on to say, okay, HR, that's another department, and then press my enter, and then I can say marketing, and then enter, and the last one I can say operations or production, as the case may be. So we have that to be a drop down, and now we have collected basic information. Now also let's note that we can arrange this question as we have set it. For example, like I said, this we have a floating toolbox, and each of these blocks, they are independent of one another. This is a block, and we have a floating toolbox where we can actually pick any of these to work with, and then we have this button also that we can work with, and then we have here also that we can work with. So we actually rearrange all of these. For example, I have this email here. I may decide to say, okay, age, I want to move it, so I'll put in my cursor here, and you see that it is crossed. I can hold it, and then I will drag this particular block to the second one, and then we now have it age as in the second. So now in the first section, don't forget that I want to create section for our form. In the first section, we've asked for name, it's asked for age, email, and department, and then we want to break this form into sections. So I'll come to the last question in this section, and then I'll come here to say add section. This is the add section button that we can click on it, and then we have a second section. And here you see that we have section 2 of 2. So the first one is section 1. This is section 1. As you can see, it says section 1 of 2, and then this is section 2. So that is us breaking our form into sections, long form into sections. And now that we have broken it into sections, our section, we can title our section 2, we can give it a title, and then also we can add a description to our section. Now let's just add the description. So let's name this to be current. Add a description, which of course I'm going to leave for now, and then we can go ahead to say we can add a question to section 2. So in section 2, we want to ask other form of question from our staff. So let's just put in the question. I'll put in the question, and then I'll come back. So this is the only question I want to ask in section 2, and the question is how will you rate your overall digital skill? And then I have a multi-choice option, which is a beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then that is the only question I want to ask in section 2. Then I can go to section 3 by simply clicking here, and then I have section 3. You can see section 3, and then I have this section 2, and then this is section 1. That is us breaking our form, our long form, into different sections depending on the goal that we actually want to achieve. So for section 3, I'm going to add of course add the title, I will add the questions, and then I will come back. All right, welcome back. Now let's quickly preview our form that I've added. We have about 7 sections. So this is what we are going to use now. Section 1 talks about the staff digital skill training survey. That's section 1, and then we collected basic information in section 2. We only asked for just one question in section 2, and that question is talking about the current digital skill of our staff. Then we move to section 3, where we actually collected information. We want to collect information about the training is for beginners, and then section 4, section 5, and then section 6, and then section 7. So these are when we are having a long form, you can actually break them into sections. Now that's one of the things that we want to learn. That is how we can break long form into different sections to make it more engaging and more interactive. Now if you preview what we have done, this is preview, we click on it and we preview, and then you see that here after the department it said next. If I click on next, I'm able to go to the next, and then you see this is the second one, the second section. You talk about the current digital skill, and then we ask a question that how will you rate your overall digital skill. Then we can go to the next one, that is the third section, which is the beginner training needs, and then we ask a couple of questions, and then we give our staff some options, and then if we go, we can move to the next section, which is talking about the intermediate training needs. We actually have some questions there over 2. So this is breaking long form into sections, and then go to the next section, that's advanced training needs. We ask 2 questions there also, and then we can go to the section 6, that is scheduling preferences. We give our staff the option to schedule their training date and time, and then we ask if they have any accessibility needs. And then the next one, the last section, is talking about additional comment in case they have any feedback or suggestion that they want to give. So this is our form, 7 sections in all. You can see that we've actually broken down this form into sections, a very long form, but we actually broken it down into sections. So let's return to our form. Now that's one part of our training, that's breaking long form into sections. Now number 2, let's see how we can go to sections based on answer. Now in section 1, we collected basic information, that is name, age, email address, and their department. Now in section 2, we want to ask what is the current digital skill of our staffs, and then we are asked to rate the overall digital skill. Now we should have beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Now based on this answer here, I want to send our respondent to different sections of our form. Now to do that, what I will do is that I will make this question required, because I actually want every one of them to answer this question. Now based on the answer that they gave here, that is the sections, the form will take them to other sections. Now for example, if you look at this, I can come here and say go to section based on answers. Now I can add description, I can shuffle options. We'll talk about this later. Now let's pick on this option that says go to section based on answer. Now if someone answered this question that says how will you rate your overall digital skill, and the person pick beginner, the question is that what section am I going to send that person to? So I'll click it and say, oh, these are all the sections in my form, section 1 to 7, and we have the submit. Now based on the answer that this person is giving, if the person says beginner, I want to send the person to section 3. That is where we have the beginner training needs, so I'll pick on section 3. Now if the person says intermediate, I want to send the person to section 4. That is where we have the intermediate training needs. Now if they say advanced, if someone fill the form and say his skill is advanced, I want to send the person to section 5. That is where we have the advanced training needs, so I'll pick. So now based on individual answers here, they go to different sections. That is the logic and the structure. So we actually want to send our respondent to different parts based on the answer that they give. So it happens here in section 2, and then you are going to see when we begin to fill the form. Now that's one part. Then we can go to section 3, which we have actually taken care of that here. So the beginners level will come to section 3, the intermediate level will come to section 4, and then the advanced level will come to section 5. So those ones I'm taking care of. Now from section 3 here, I asked a question that says which basic digital skill training do you need? That's a question that they have to answer. Now here here, this question, I asked a question that, do you want to attend a beginner training section? Now, based on the answer, I also want to send them to different sections. Now, if the person says yes, I'll come here. I'll make this question required because I actually want them to answer it. And then I'll click here. I'll say go to section based on answer. If the person says yes, I want to send the person to section 6, where the person can schedule a training date and time. So I'll say 6. If the person says no, then I want to send the person to section 7, where in case they have suggestion or feedback, I'll say section 7. That's that. Now I'll go to the intermediate, the same question here. Now based on their answer, I'll turn on the required option, and I'll click on this, and then if they said yes, they want to attend an intermediate training section, I'll say okay, go to section 6 and schedule and put in your training date and time. If they say no, I want to say okay, go to section 7 and then put in any comment or suggestion that you may have. Then the advanced, the same thing for the advanced. If the advanced, I ask a question that they don't want to attend. If they said yes, I will put in this one required, and then I want to say go to section based on answer, and I will say, if they say yes, I'll say go to section 6 and schedule a date and time, and then if they say no, I'll say go to 7 and add additional comments if you have any. And then section 7, section 6 is talking about scheduling preferences, which we have actually taken care of that, about the date and the time. And then section 7 is talking about suggestion and feedback. So these are what we have for our form. We've broken it down, and then we've created different sections, different parts for different respondents based on their answer. That is another thing that we should note and that we should learn, which we have covered. Now, another thing for us to add, if you want to create a smarter and user-friendly form, is that we want to add validation. We don't want to create forms alone, but we actually want to control the type of data that will be entered by our respondents. So now, for example, for name, where we have a short answer. Now for validation, I'm going to turn this on. When I turn this on, showing that this is a required question for them to answer, I have a short answer as the answer type, short answer. Now at the same time, I don't want them to just enter any text or anything. I want to actually control the kind of text that they enter. So if I click here, I can say response validation. So let's add some basic validation to our form so that we can control the kind of entry that will be entered, and that will determine the kind of data that we actually get. So I'll add validation. Now for short answers, we can actually add a number of validations. It actually have the highest number of validations. So for short answer, we can have text validation. We click here, we have number, we can have text, we have length, we have the regular expression validation, and then also we can have email. If you see if it is number, you see all of this, and then if it is text, you see that we have emails, we have URL. So we can actually put in all of this validation to control the kind of entry that will be entered by those that will be filling the form. So for full name, I want to have it to be, for example, let me say length. Now let's say I want to control the maximum number of characters that can be entered. Let's say someone has a very long name, more than 40-50 characters, and I don't want to take that. So let's say I want to have the maximum character count for my form. I can say okay, maximum 40. That is the maximum character count that can be entered in this particular short answer, 40. Once it is 40, the form will actually tell the person, oh, this is an error. Now for us, we can add a custom error text so that whoever that will be filling the form will actually know what is wrong if they try to enter a name that is more than 40 characters. So I'll say maximum character is 40. So they know that they can enter more than this. Now that's one way in which we can do validation. Then age, for age, we can say, okay, this is a required question. Want them to answer. For short answer, we are going to add validation. We say response validation. And then we want to make sure that it is number because we are dealing with age. So we don't want text. We don't want to enter text. If someone tries to enter text, it will say no, this should be number. So we want this one to be number. And from here, we have all of this. So we can pick, as you design your form, you can actually pick the one that is the most appropriate for the kind of result that you want to achieve. So I want to say that, okay, I don't want, I want between, yeah. So let's say those in our organization, their age is between 18 and what? They're 18 and say, let's say 65. Now, if someone tried to enter, let's say if I ask for their age, they try to enter, let's say 17 or 66. It tells them that it has to be between 18 and 65 because we actually know the kind of age, the age range between in our organization. So we can also add a custom error text and describe that, oh, age should be between 18 and 65. So we can actually put that and say we want 18, between 18 and 65 years. And then for email, we can also add validation to email by I'll turn on this require, and then I'll say come here, I'll say response validation, and then here I'll pick number, I'll pick text, and then I'll say email. That's to be an email. So here we can provide a custom error message and say, okay, please enter a valid email address. So that's to be an email, and then department and all of that. So the short answer will actually give us a lot of options to actually add validations, you can see. And also the long paragraph option also have validation that we can add. For example, let's see where we have paragraph as our answer type. Now in section 7 we have the, if you look at this question, we have paragraph as our answer type. Now let's see the kind of validation that we can add to this kind of answer type, which is a paragraph. Now once I come here, I'll pick response validation. It is on already, and then I will simply say okay, let me turn it on. Response validation, okay, I have the minimum and the maximum. That is the kind of validation that we can have. So if I say maximum, let's say for example maximum character count, let's say for example the maximum character count they can write is 500, and then I can provide a custom error message, or I can turn it to minimum. Let's say I want to say that okay, the minimum they can write is 50, and then I can provide a custom error message. So all of these we can add to our form so that we can control the kind of entry that we can put in our form. Now that is that about that. Now another thing that we should talk about in this section is media. How do we add media to our form? Now let's see how we can add media. Now in this form, there was actually one that I actually had a, for example, I said okay, here this question, I said watch this short video on basic digital skills. Now here we can actually embed YouTube videos into our form. If we come to this floating toolbar, and then I have this YouTube. You can actually click on this to embed YouTube video into your form. So let's see how we can actually do that now. So to add a video, I'll simply click here and say okay, add a video. That's what I'm going to do. We can add video on YouTube. So I'll paste a URL which I'll copy to my clipboard, and I'll click on search, and then I have this video. I'll click here, then I will insert, and then we have this. So you can see that we can insert, we can embed YouTube video into our lesson. So for example, here now I'll simply copy this and I'll put it here as the title, as you can see, and then I can actually get rid of this question here, and then we have it. So watch this short video on basic stuff. So we have that. So and then also we can insert image. Let's say we want to insert image into our form. We actually have that option too. So once I click here, let's say I want to add a new question, I'll simply add this, and then here you can insert an image. Let's say the question that you want to ask is within an image, you can insert it here. I'll simply click here. So we have different options for inserting an image. We can actually upload it, and from our local computer we can have it. We have it on our webcam, we can upload. We have the URL, we can put it. We have the photo, we have Google Photo, we have it on it. We can actually put it on our drive, and we can actually search online for Google Images. So I'll click on Google Images, and then let's say we need a flyer on digital skills. Then I'll search, and then we can see that we have a lot of flyers. So let's just insert one and see how we can. So let me pick this, and then I'll click on insert, and then you see that it is possible for us to also insert an image, and then you can see, so we can actually click on it and drag it to, let's drag it to reduce the size, and then we have it. So you can then put the labeling, the options, and any other thing that we want to put. And here, if you click here, we can align it to the left, center, right. We can change it, and then we can delete it. So let's say I want to align it to the center. Align center, we have it. Once I click on it, let's say I want to remove it, I can remove it. So that's that about adding images. So let me just simply delete this particular question. Now that we are actually constructed our form, we've designed our form, now let's go ahead and see other things that we can do. How can we publish this form, which we have talked about in module 1. Now one thing that we can do is that we simply come here, or that's it, we can customize. We can change the header. Let me change the header. Let me change this also. I can change it to this. I can change this to this as font 12. The text, I can change it to as I want. Georgia font, then Meriwether. Let me have it to be this. So I can change the theme color. Let me have it to be this. Then I can have it to be this, which is very good. Then I can close, and then here I can preview the form that we have designed. Beautiful form that we have designed. So we can see the preview of our form. You can see that it says that indicate required question. So the full name, the age, email, and then here I can go to next, and it's not actually allowing because these are required questions. So I have to answer this question and all of that before I can go to the next. But let's close the preview mode and let's come back to our question. So let's first and foremost learn how we can publish. So we have to publish before we have access to this. Before I do that, I want to. So let's publish, and then we have it to be anyone with the link and manage. So we can actually publish this, and then we have a link. We can click on shorten URL, and then we can copy, and then we can share with people. We click on this, say our status is now published. If you want to unpublish, you can click here, and then just say, you can see that here it is saying accepting responses. Simply have to toggle this off, not accepting responses. So but for now I will leave it on. Now that's that. Now we have published. We can begin to share with people. Just click here, and then this dialog box should come up, and then you begin to add as many as possible. The number of people that you actually want to share this form with, you can actually share with them. And then we see that the responders field is anyone with the link. Now if you grant access as editor, they will be able to edit this form by say editor, anyone with the link. So by actually add them, they're able to edit this form, but I don't want to actually do that. So I will remove, I will uncheck. So I will remove this, and then I will only have the responders full view. People will be able to respond. So anyone with the link. So I'll copy the link, and then I'll click on done, and then we have this form. So let's see how it actually look like. I will open a new browser, or a new browser, and then we try to fill this form and see how it will actually look like. So let me just open browser Edge, and then let me link, and then I will click on enter, and then we have our form. So as you can see, let's try and fill this form one after the other. So age, let's say I'm 25 years, 26 years, I'm not 26. Then my email, I can simply add my email. Now for example, if I try from the validation that we enter, let's say I want to add as many names as possible. So let me begin to add, and you can see that it says our maximum character is 40. As you can see, that's a kind of validation that we added when we are actually designing this form. So it will actually not take anything that is more than 40 characters. So that's us adding validation to our form. So let's just leave it this way. Now we have that. So age, we said we added validation and say 18 to 65. So let's say, let me try to enter 16, and then I go to the next one, say age ranges between 18 and 65. So it will not take anything outside of 18 and 65. If you take 18, if you put in 18, it will take it. If you put in 65, it will take it. So that's it. But anything above that, let's say 70, it will not actually take it. So that's validation. Very, very useful to control the kind of entry that your responder will actually give you. So let me just put 45 there. Email, if you don't put the email correctly, it will actually complain. For example, let me delete this, and then let's say I want to go to department. It tells me that please enter a valid email address, because it actually has validation there. So that is wonderful. And then department, I'm able to select, as you can see, marketing. Then I can go to the next, and then it says how you rate your overall digital skill. This is current digital skill. If I try to skip this question, it will not actually allow. So let me say next. It says this is a required question, so I have to answer this question before I move. Now from the validation that we, sectionalization that we actually put, the beginner should actually go to section 3, intermediate to section 4, and advanced to section 5. So let me say advanced, and then that should take me to section 5. That is the advanced training needs. So what do I want? I can pick this. I can pick this if I want. Do you want to attend a training needs? It's a required question. If I say no, it takes me to section 7. If I say yes, it takes me to section 6, where I can put in date and time. So I'll simply do this, and then I can put date, training date. Let me say this, and then training time. I can. So I have the training time, and then do you have any accessibility issue? I can answer. I can decide not to answer. I'll click on next, and then I can put additional comment and be added validation to this also. And then after that, I can submit, and it says response has been submitted. Let's try and submit another response, and then we can again, and then age, let's say this time around 50, and then email address, Just try to put something there. Department, we can pick IT. You can click on next. I say intermediate, go to next. Takes me to intermediate training needs. I can select. Do you want to attend intermediate training section? If I select no, it takes me to section 7 where I can put in comments. I can just say none, and then I can again submit my form. You can say must be at least 50 characters. So even if you want to answer this, must be at least 50 characters. So it is better I don't even answer at all. Then I can click on submit, and then the form is also submitted. So this is a way of actually going about your form. Now let me close this browser. We return to, and then you see that we now have responses too. So we look at this button later, responses, and then we look at setting later as far as this course is concerned. Now, before we actually close this section, let's talk about how we can create a QR code for our Google form. Now, this code, the QR code can be shared with people. Instead of you sharing the link, for example, this is the link. I will shorten it. I can copy. Instead of you sharing this link with people, you can actually create a QR code for your form and then share the code with people, and then they're able to scan the code and then takes them directly to fill your form. But one rule about that is that make sure that your form is accepting responses. So if your form is not accepting responses, once people scan the code, they are not able to fill the form. So make sure that this is turned on. We are actually going to do that. So let me cancel this, and let's see how we can create a QR code for our form. Now there are a number of ways. You can simply come to your browser and search for QR code. So QR code generator on Google, you see a lot of options. You can click on them. Some are free, some are paid, but one that I know that is free is that you can actually use Canva. That one is free. So just go to Canva, and that should give you where you can generate a QR code. Say generate a QR code. I'll click on it. You may be required to sign in. I actually have a Canva account, that's why I'm not signing it. So I want to create a QR code. Let's see how we can actually do that. For it says you can use existing design. I can use a new design. So let me use existing design to make it simple, or let me use a name. So I'll say customize that. Let me customize it. Here, let me put 1080 and the height 1080, and then I think this is good. I click on create new design. That should open up a new tab for me where I can, and then this is 1080 by 1080. Then here should give me an option to put in my URL, which I've copied from my form. I'll say generate code, and then we have our QR code, and then I'll simply drag to fit into this page. I'll drag to fit into this page, and then we have our code. So here I can come here and say share. Then I can say download, and then I want to download as a PNG file, and then I'll say download. And then our QR code has been downloaded. So let me just open it, and then so you can actually pick this QR code, send it to people. Once they scan, they're able to fill the form. So that is the concept, and that is where we are going to call it a day for this module. Thank you so much for staying with me. I'll see you in module 3. Thank you. Alright, hello everyone, welcome to module 3. In module 2, we actually dealt with how we can create more interactive and user-friendly form, and we ended that section by creating a QR code that works for our form. Now in module 3, we want to learn how we can transform simple Google form from being a simple survey to a powerful assessment tool. So in this section, we want to look at quizzes and educational tools. The feature, one of the great features of a Google Form, if you're a teacher and educator, or you create online content, this is actually very useful for you. So we start by creating a new form, as we've been doing. We want to create a new form, and then we have our new form. Now, for us to create quizzes, it's kind of a test or assessment form, assessment type for our student. We need to head to settings. We've not talked about responses, we've not talked about settings, so we actually look at that later. Now, the first thing we do in this section is that we want to go to settings. We want to go into settings, and once you click on settings, you see certain things that you have to do. Now, the first thing that we are going to do under settings is that we want to turn on this button that says make this a quiz, this particular button. So we want to click on this and turn it on. That will actually give us a lot of stuff. So I will simply go ahead and turn it on, and you see that immediately I turn it on, I have some other buttons that were turned on automatically. So we are going to review all of these settings later to make sure that you actually create an engaging and very responsive quizzes. Now, since we've turned on this, let's head back to our questions. Then we are going to fill our questions. So let's have the title of our quiz. This is the title of our quiz. We can go on to add a description. We've said that you want to test your knowledge about basic digital tools and skills. This quiz will provide instant feedback once you submit it, and that's what we want to do. So I'm going to actually highlight this. I'm going to bold it and I will italicize this. Also, I want to, of course, bold it, and at the same time I want to name it as a digital skill assessment quiz, and that's a quiz that I actually want to create. So we'll come in here and then we add our questions. So I'll quickly add a few questions and then I'll come back. All right, welcome back. We've been able to add our questions. I've added about 10 questions in all. Now let's quickly look at some of these questions that I've added and see how we can improve this. Now in question 1, I actually put multi-choice question, multi-choice option for them. So I have put this question, and then we can begin to look at how we can actually mark it, grade it automatically and assign point. Now I want to say that, of course, here you may want to say, okay, for our student, let me rearrange this. We have not put their student ID, as the case may be. ID, you may again ask for their name or student ID. So these two options, you can decide to make it required, and like I said the other time, you can of course add validation to it. In case you want to add validation to it, I can decide to say, okay, but response validation, the student ID, I know it should be a number, so I can have it to be number, and I know maybe the maximum count should be maybe about a 4-digit or 6-digit, as the case may be. So I can decide to put this there just to help our student, and then I can put a custom error message, but I decide to leave that. For entering the student ID, we are going to assign no mark and no point to it, and then at the same time, name. For name, we can also make it a required and then we had a short answer type. We can also, of course, add response validation and say, okay, this one should be a text, and then, or we can say, okay, the length, like we did the other time, maximum character, maybe about 40 characters, and then we can provide a custom error text. And then we proceed to our first question, which is, which of the following is a word processing software? And then we have a multi-choice question, and now we can provide an answer key. So to do that, you can click here that says answer key, click on it and say which of this option is actually correct. So for this option, the correct option is Microsoft Word. That is, which of the following is a word processing software. So we have Microsoft Word. We have provided the answer, and this is the only correct answer. And then for the point, I want to award, let's say 10 points for each of these. And immediately I put 10, you see from here that we have total point to be 10. You can see it that is showing here in real time. It is actually showing. So 10 points for the first question. I want to say okay, and then we have that. We are done with that. If you like, you can make it required or you can make it optional depending on what you want to do. Then other type of question that we can have apart from the multi-choice is that we can have the true or false question. We can also have that. So we have it to be multi-choice. Now the question is Google form can be used to create survey. Is it true or false? We come to our answer key and then we add it to be true, and then we provide point, which is going to be 10 points for each of these questions, and then you can see that we now have 20 here. So we click on done. We are done with that. Question 3, we also have that same question. So we want to at the same time add an answer key. So for this question, this is the answer key. I want to add an answer key, and at the same time I can provide the point for this question, which is 10 adding to 30. As you can see that is showing here real time. And also we can provide an answer feedback in case you want to add explanation. I'll just click here, then you can put in the incorrect answer, you can put in the correct answer here, just to a kind of a feedback. And then you can add a link. If you want to add a link, you can always add a link, and then you can add a text to display for the link, and then you can add a video as the case may be. If you want to actually add a video as a form of feedback, you can do that with our Google form. So I'm going to cancel this. So I simply want to have this. I'll click on done, and then here this one also is a yes or no question. It says you can embed a YouTube video in the Google form. You can add the answer key and say it is yes, and of course have our point awarded 40, and then we have it. So it is done. Now other type of no question that we can say apart from the objective, the yes or no or the true or false, is that we can also add other let's do this. Let's add the answer key, which is a quiz mode, and then we put into 10 points, and then we want to add it. And then we can also have the one word answer, short answer. For example, I said here that what Google tool is used to store file in the cloud. Now I've added a short answer. I want a short answer for this. Now for me to add an answer key and for Google form to grade it automatically and correctly, is that don't let your one word question be subject to so many interpretations. For example, the question I've asked, this question I've asked, there are only possible answers that my respondents may want to give or my student may want to give. Now, what are the answers? I want to go to the answer key and say add correct answer. Now, I will say, okay, in this question, someone can say drive. That is the kind of the Google tool that allow you to store file in the cloud. I have it to be drive. Someone can say drive. Then another person can say Google Drive. I think these are the two possible answers that my responder may want to give to my question. So I'm going to add it up, and then I will tick this that says mark all other answer incorrect, because any other answer apart from these two, I want to assume that they are not correct. But these two, if anybody say drive, it will mark it correctly. If anybody write Google Drive, it will mark it correctly. Any answer apart from these two, it will mark it as incorrect. So I'm going to award mark, which is 10 points, and then we have it to be 60 in real time. Now that is that. So I'll click on done. Now you can see that it says correct answers. We have drive, we have Google Drive here. So if you are setting this type of question in your form, make sure that your question is not open to so many interpretations. For example, if you ask a question that who is the president of Nigeria presently, it is President Bola Tinubu. That is open to so many things that people may write. Someone may say, oh, Bola Tinubu. Someone may say President Bola Tinubu. Someone may say Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, and a lot of names like that. So you may need to actually take care of all of that in your answer key, and it may not be easy. So if you are setting a short answer question, a one-word answer question, make sure that it is not open to different interpretation, make it a kind of a question that the answer to be given is limited to maybe one or two correct answers, and you're good to go. So we want to go into this, and then the answer key will come here, and then we have the point which is 10, and then we want to our answer to be true. That's the answer. I have my point 70% now. We are almost getting there. And then this, I want to say conditional logic in a quiz mode allow different questions to be appear on different answers. Is yes or no. I want that question to be yes or no. So I want to say yes, and then I'll give the point to be 10. Then I'll say okay, and then we have these questions too. Say which of the following is a method to share a Google form. So we can add our answer key, and then we have it to be email invitation. We can share our form via email invitation. I'm going to add this to be 10. We have it. We can add our answer feedback as the case may be. We can input video links and all of that. And then lastly, we also have a one-word answer that say what feature in Google Form lets you collect files from respondent. So what feature? Answer, and then let me add my answer key. Now that is also 10 points. Now I want to add the correct answer to be upload. The upload, and then another answer may be, another person may say file upload. This, I think these two are okay. Now I will say all other answer mark it to be incorrect. I think that's beautiful, and that's okay. So these are questions that we can set and how we can actually award our point, add answers, feedback, and allow Google Form to grade every other thing to be done automatically for us. So I'll say okay. Now with this, now we now have 10 questions, and we have 100 points. Each question is actually 10 marks. Now we've actually set we've set our assessment quiz. Let's see other thing that we can do. Now in setting, we can go to setting. We've actually turned this on to be a quiz. Now other thing that we should know is that now we have an heading that says release grade. Now presently we've chosen immediately after each submission. That is the option that we have chosen, but you can also go on to choose later after manual review. That is one thing that you can also go for. And if you actually turn on this, it will collect respondents' email addresses, because you are going to use that email to actually release, to send them their scores or their grade as the case may be. But if you actually say immediately after each submission, you don't need to collect emails. That's another thing. So we want to release this result immediately after each submission. Now we'll go on to another heading that says respondent settings. Now we can say, okay, mixed questions. Respondent can see what questions are automatically incorrect. If you don't want that, you can turn this off. But I actually want them to see that which questions are actually incorrect, that they got incorrect. Now correct answer they can also see, but if you don't want that, you can turn these two off. But it will actually show them their score or their grade, but they will not be able to see which question they actually got correctly or which question they actually didn't get correctly. So I want them to see the incorrect answer, and I want them to see the correct answers. That's another point. Then the point, I want them to see the point. Responder can see total point and point received for each question. I actually want them to see. So depending on what you want to achieve, you can either turn these three buttons off or you turn them on, as the case may be. Now by default, you can set your marks. Instead of me entering the marks 10 10 10 10 for each question, I can come here and set by default that for each question I want to award 10 points or 1 point or 2 points, as the case may be. So I can do that right from here. So I can say, okay, for each question 10 points, but I've actually done it in the question, so there's no need for that here again. Now for responses, if you actually click on this, you are going to, if you want to collect email, allow, but you don't need to. If you don't need to collect email, you don't have to actually say verify. For example, if you don't say do not collect, you don't need to verify, do not collect. But in case you want to verify, then it means that your responder have to log into Google before they'll be able to answer the question. If they are not logged in, it will require them to actually log in before they are allowed to answer the questions. Then send responder a copy of their responses. For their response, you can either say always or when requested, or you turn it off. So now I want to turn it off, but you can actually turn it on and send them a copy of their response. Now other things that allow response editing, do you want that? No, I don't think you want to do that, because immediately they submitted, you actually want them to attempt the quiz once and not twice. So I don't want them to edit their response, no. But if you actually want them to give them permission to actually submit another response, maybe attempt the quiz twice or 3 times, you can turn this on, but I don't want to do that. And then you want to allow them to sign in. You want to limit response, limit to 1 response. If you turn it on, then it means that it will collect, it will actually require them to sign in before they answer the question. So I want to have this. You have to sign in and it will be limited. You're only allowed to answer the question once. That's that. And then for presentation, show progress bar, you can turn it on. A shuffled question order, if you actually want that. Let's say 2 or 3 people are writing the test, they are sitting in the same place, maybe in the same hall, you may actually turn this on so that they get different questions at different numbers. So it will actually, Google Form will actually shuffle the question so that they do not get the question in the same order. So you can turn it on if you actually want that. But for today, I don't want to turn it on. So I have that. After submission, this is the confirmation message that they will see. Your response has been recorded. But if you don't want that, maybe you want to give a custom message, then you can edit this response. You can type whatever you want to type here, and then you click on save. But for now, I think this is good. Then show link to submit another response. We can't do that because we've actually limited the response to 1, so we cannot do that. And then view result summary, you can actually, if you want to turn it on, it says that it will share result summary with respondents, important details. So I don't think you want to turn this on, and then that is that. And then disable autosave for all respondents. If you want, you can turn it on or turn it off, as the case may be. Then the default is that do not collect email, but if you want to collect email by default, you can just pick verified. So anytime you create a form, by default it will actually want to verify the respondent before they are allowed to actually fill that form or attempt the quiz. But I think the do not collect is the default, and I think it is very okay. Then question type, do you want to make the question required by default? If I actually turn this on by default, all my questions here, it will say it is required. It is required. So that is what that one does. But you can actually, if you don't want to make it required by default, you can turn this off. But you can see that from our question, The only thing that will make compulsory is the student ID, because we actually want them to put in the student ID for the purpose of identity, and we've limited it to only 4 characters. That is actually. And then we actually made it compulsory that they enter their name. We want their student ID, we want their name. Every other thing here is just optional. It's optional for us. So we've done the settings. All the settings here, we've seen the one that we should turn off and see the one that we should turn on. We can go to the preview and see how our quiz is actually looking like. And then you see this is the title and the description of our quiz. And then you can see that by default, email is required. You can see that it will actually ask them to, it will record for individual email, it will record it. This is the email that it will be recorded. And then it requires a student ID. It requires a student ID, it requires a student name, and then every other thing is there for us. So we have each question is 10 points as we have actually specified. So it's 10 points. You can see this is also 10 points. All our questions that are there, the true or false and the answered one. So everything is 10 points. Now we can exit the preview mode, and then we can go on to our form to actually publish our quiz. Now before we publish, we can of course customize the tester and all of that, the header, whatever. We can choose an image. Let me see if I can add an image. Let's see an image that we can actually add. Since this is a quiz, let's see an image that we can add to it. I think this is good. We can add this, we can add this, we can add this. So let me pick this, and then I will go to insert this, and then we have it. And like I told you in chapter 1, in module 1 of this course, that immediately you upload an image, before we actually pick the color of that image, and you've seen it. But we can actually change the color of that image. So we can come here. If you want purple and this background, you can actually pick it. If you want this and then the other background, you can actually pick. I think this is very, very good. So I will simply close this. So now that we are done, we can publish our quiz. I'm going to publish this, and then we say anyone with the link can attempt. I'm going to publish, and then I have my URL. I will shorten, I'll copy. Now let me open a new tab, and let's try to answer the question and see one or two things. So I'm going to click on, and then I have the quiz. So the email is actually compulsory. I can click on this and say it will record this email, because I actually want my student to be verified before they answer these questions. And then the student IDs, let me say, and then you see says must be 4 characters or fewer, and then you see that it doesn't take that because of the validation that we added. So you can say 1 2 3 4 characters. That's what it will take for student ID. And then the name, we can add our name. Let me just put in a short name like this. So and then I'm going to answer these questions. Software, this, it says 10 points. Each of the questions is 10 points that we specify. The student ID and the name, they don't have, no point is allotted to this place. No point is allotted here. For each of our questions, we have 10 points that is actually allotted to each question. So let me quickly answer some of these questions. I don't know, I'm just clicking, and then I'm just clicking. Now for this, you see that according to what I've actually specified. So let me just say drive, and then let me just say this, let me say this, and here let me say this, and then let me submit and see what will happen. And immediately say view score, say the response has been recorded, and then I want to view score, and it said that here I actually scored 60 over 100. Now let's see some of the questions that I got and the one that I missed. And like we have said during our settings, the question that I got correctly, it actually specified that I got this correctly. I got this correctly. Now let's go on. I got this correctly, and then it said this, as you can see, that I did not get this one correctly, and it actually specified the correct answer for me, and it says yes is the correct answer. So that is the kind of settings that we have put. But if you don't actually want this setting, you can actually modify. I got this correctly, and it says, just look at this, and it says no, I didn't get this correctly. Why is that? And look at it. Despite the fact that I provided that the right question, the right answer should be Drive and Google Drive. Now, why is it that it marked it incorrect? It is because it is case sensitive. For example, I wrote Drive, but here I started my Drive with capital letter, uppercase, here uppercase. But here I wrote it in lowercase. I just wrote Drive in lowercase, and Google Form actually mark it as incorrect. So, and that is why you have to be careful if you are setting one word answer, and it's not even advisable that you set it. But if you must set it, then you have to be very careful so that you don't actually deny your student the needed mark that they should get. So it's better that you just set a multiple choice question, or yes or no, or true or false, than setting one word answer, because so it can be interpreted so many things. And you see here that Google Form actually marked as incorrect because of just the casing of what I actually entered. So this, I got it correctly. This wrongly, and it gave me the correct answer. This correctly, and then this also, you can see I have upload, file upload. I wrote upload, but in lowercase, and it actually marked it as incorrect. So please, people, be careful of kind of answer. If you want to set one word, it's not advisable, but if you must do that, you have to be careful about it. So those are the things that we have done, and let's see whether now that we have answered correctly, if you come here, it says responses. Now if you come to our responses, I have is only one response. Now from what we have done, let me see whether I can attempt another. I'll click on this, I'll enter, and it says you have already responded, because you have actually limited the number of response to once. So nobody will be able to respond twice, because it will actually verify the identity of that person by collecting the email of that person, and you will not be able. So instead of me to respond again, to attempt the quiz again, it says just fill your score. You can click on it, and then I'll fill my score because I've actually responded. So we have the summary, as you can see. We have the question. You can view the question by you can view the question. You can see it. This is question 1. You can go to question 2, as you can see, question 3, and so on and so forth. These are the questions. You can view them. You can view the answer key, as the case may be, and then you can view by individual, let's say individual person. You see the person. This is the student ID of the person. This is the name, and then you can see what the person actually got. So all these are there for us to actually make use of them. You can print. You can see the email of the person, one person, and then you can see that it is one person. You can print the response of this person. You can delete the response of this person, and also we also have you can see the score of that person. You can see that what Google Form told us that this score was released February 25 by 6:17 p.m. So because we chose automatic release of score, even if we have chosen that we want to release our score manually, we've been able to release the score. Even with this now, I can still go ahead and release the score. You see that we have the responder. If it's more than one person, let's say 10, 100, even 1,000, it will list all the email, and then you're able to send the email, send and release their score, and automatically Google Form will release that score. Now that's one thing. Now other thing that we can do here before we actually conclude is that we can create a sheet. We can link this to a sheet. For example, I want to click on this. It says create a new spreadsheet, digital skill assessment quiz, that's the name. Or I can select an existing spreadsheet if I don't want to create a new spreadsheet. But let me have it as create a new spreadsheet. I'll click on create, and then it will give me a spreadsheet whereby, let's say I have 100 of students or have the 100 of respondents. I can actually respond. I can actually analyze their score and every other thing. You can see it. So I'll be able in the Google Sheet, I'll be able to do further analysis. And also I can come here and download the response as an Excel file and actually do analysis on it offline, as the case may be. I can download this response as an Excel file, and then you see that it is actually downloaded. So I can open it. This is an Excel file now, whereby I can do further analysis. So from here I can do further analysis as the case may be, and so on and so forth. So this is the concept. And then that thing that we can do, so we can see the name, digital skill assessment quiz responses, and everything is here for us to analyze. And then that's it. And here we click on this three dot. You can check on this. I say get email notification for new responses. If you want to turn it on, you can turn it on. You can select destination for the responses, as the case may be. You can download responses as a CSV file, like we have said. You can print all responses, or you can delete all responses. And let's try and delete all responses, as the case may be. Say, are you sure you want to delete all form responses? This action cannot be undone. So if you actually say yes, it cannot be undo. You cannot press Ctrl Z to undo it. So let's be careful. So that is that. We have the summary. Now, if you have more responses, which we will talk about later in the course, we will have the insight, and then it gives us the average, the median score, and then the range. So you can even see the chart that Google Form has actually produced, which is actually wonderful. So this is the concept. It's a beautiful thing. The form is actually fantastic. You can see, you can even release the score from there. It's so beautiful. You actually know how to use it as an educator. It will make your job very easy. Assessment, grading, and all of that very easy. Thank you so much. I'll see you in Module 4. Thank you. Alright everyone, welcome to Module 4 of this mastery course for Google Form. And this module I'll be looking at data management and analysis, a kind of advanced concept. Now in the advanced level. Now this is Module 4. Now I want to use one of these existing Google Form now to actually take the lesson. So let me just click on this and see now what we have there. Now it was a questionnaire that actually tested the knowledge of people about health and safety in their workplace and at home. And then we have it. So in all, we have about 152 respondents that actually responded to this particular questionnaire. Now, if you look at this questionnaire, we can actually go to the responses as we continue in this lesson. We can go to responses and we see a kind of insight that we have in our responses. We see that here we have the average score, we have the median score, and then we have the range, and then we have this interactive chart from Google that we can actually refer to. So if you hover your mouse over this chart, you'll see that they are actually interactive chart that we have with our form. So these are the things that we can do. So we have 152 responses to this particular survey. Now, some of the things that we can actually look at is the summary view, and then we have the summary view, and then other things that we can look at is the question view. We can go to the question view. If we click on the question view, you actually see what I'm talking about. Now, if you click here, you see that we have all the questions that were contained in this particular survey. You can actually click on anyone and go to that particular question, and you see it. As I click on it, it's question 8. and then we actually have it. So you can also navigate from here, as you can see, to the question. We can navigate from here and see one or two things. We have 152 responses, and then we have in all we have 52 questions. We have 52 questions, as you can see, and this is question 4 of 52. So that is another thing. Then also we can view the individual responses. You can see the first respondents to this particular survey, actually, you can see this is the first one of 152. Now the person actually scores 76 out of 100 points, as we have it. So we have all of that. We can print this of this person, we can print, or we can also delete it, as we have it in the individual view. And then we can also view how the person actually performed in the survey. As you can see, these are the questions. You can see that I got most of the questions correctly at the initial stage. So we can view all of these responses from individual to question to summary, and then we come to the individual. You see that the score was actually released automatically at this very point in time. So these are things that we can actually look into in our form. Then another thing that we can actually talk about is we can actually take these responses to our sheet and perform further analysis. The sheet will actually give us a lot of other benefits, like performing analysis, in certain chart, and a whole lot of others to do. So to do that, we can click here, say link to sheet. We can click on that, and then we can see we have the responses. We have the responses. All our 52 respondents, we have their responses exported to, and then you can see the name of the sheet is Health, Safety and Environment Questionnaire Responses, and then we have all of the responses. So from here, if I just scroll up, you have the scores here in this very place, and then other question depending on the form that we have. So now that we have our form here, we can actually perform further analysis. So now that we have our form in the sheet, we can actually download it to Excel. This is Excel. Download it to other Word format, PDF, and all other CSV. You can download it as a CSV file, and then go ahead and perform further analysis on these responses from our respondent. Or better still, if I close this tab, from here we can, as you can see, that our form is still accepting responses. We can turn it off, like I said. We can turn it off, or we can still leave it turned on. So I'm going to turn it off, and I'll say saved, and then you can see that it is no longer accepting responses. Now, other thing that we can do with link to sheet, we can come here and we check here. You're going to get email notification for new responses, which I've talked about earlier, but I actually want to download this as a CSV file. So I can come here and just download, and then once I download, it will download it as a folder. I will open it. You can open and then go ahead and perform further analysis. As you can see, these are the responses. If I try to expand it, here the first one, we have the timestamp. The first, of course, timestamp is number 1. Then we have the scores for number 2. That's column B, and all others we have the questions and the answers for all others. So we can go ahead, for example, do some basic analysis. I can delete this, and then here I can insert a new column here, and then I will extract the scores. Here you can see that the first one is saying 76 all over 100. We actually needed the scores alone, so I'll say 76, then I'll say 100, and then you can see that Excel is very smart. It has actually picked that I actually want to extract only the values, the absolute values, and this is a function called flash fill, and it has actually detected. So what I'm going to do, I'll just press enter, and then you can see that all my score are now contained in column C. You can see that all the scores has been extracted from here to this very place. So now that we have the scores, we can do some basic analysis. For example, If we come here, we can say, okay, let's find the average of all the scores that we have. Now, don't forget that in Google Form, if you look at the Google Form, if you look at the summary, it says the average is 70. It says the average is actually 76.74. The average, you can actually confirm that as we do our analysis. So let me come back to this place and say, okay, let's say average. I want to find the average score, so it's equals to average. This is average, and then we simply reference our score column, and then we press on enter, and then you see it that it is correct. So we can actually reduce this decimal, and then we have it to be 76.74, which is very good. We can find the mean, the max. Let's say we are looking for the maximum score. Who scored the highest? We can say equals to max. That is performing other analysis with the responses that we have obtained. You can reference this place, press on enter, and then we see that the maximum score here is 100. There are people that actually score 100, and then you can look at the mean score, who actually scored the lowest. We can say equals to mean, and then we reference this very place, then press on enter, and then we have 0. And it's surprising, someone actually scored 0. Let's quickly see. Wow. Okay, this is it. I think the person didn't actually attempt any question whatsoever. As you can see that everything here is empty, so and that's why it's scoring 0. So which means that it did not even attempt, score 0. So we can, let me delete this score. This particular score is 0. Let me delete it and see which one is actually the minimum, the lowest score. We now have it to be 22, as you can see. Now we can find the pass rate. Let's say our pass mark is 50 and above. We can actually find the pass mark by saying, okay, let's find the pass mark, which is equals to, we can use the count if function. This is count if, and then we reference this column and say comma, and then it says the criteria, and then we put our criteria in quotation, and then we say any score that is greater than or equals to 50. We want to actually know the number, and then we close the quotation, we close the parentheses. So we are looking for score that are equals to, greater than or equals to 50, and then we have it. So from this survey, out of 152 respondents that actually responded to the survey, 140 actually score between 50 and above. 140 actually score 50 and above. We can look at those that actually score below 50 by saying equals to count if. We reference this, and then we press our comma. The criteria is that we are looking for those that actually score less than 50, and then we close, and then we close this way. Then it says 11, and then if you add the two together, 11 plus 140, we have 151, plus the actual one that I deleted, 0, and then we have 152 the respondent that actually responded. So these are basic analysis that after actually getting your responses, you can export it to Excel and perform other analysis. Yeah, these are just basic. You can do the cleaning, you can clean it up, perform analysis, introduce chart into your so that you can your responses, your analysis can actually be beautiful. So all of this is actually available in our form. Now we can close, we can go back to the form, and then we see that we are no longer accepting responses, and you see that the analysis that we actually did is actually correct, that this is 76.74. and if you actually go to the Excel sheet, the average score here is also 77 plus the other 0 that actually deleted. For example, if I actually went back and include the 0, someone scored 0 here, to it, and you see that our analysis, the basic analysis, is actually very correct, as you can see. So these are things that you can actually do to, you can introduce pivot table, you can introduce chart and all others to actually make your analysis very beautiful. So we can go back to our form, and then we can actually look at all of this. We have actually looked into it, and then you see that analyzing further, we have it to be the, according to our survey, the demographic information, the age range. We have the answers here, and then we can see the visuals in this very place, very beautiful. And you can see that it is actually interactive. You can see 18 to 30 years, we have most of them are between 18 to 30 years, 67.3%, and this is between 31 to 45 years, and this is above 45 years. And then we have this less than 18. The respondents that are less than 18, it's actually very minimal, just 16%, just 10.9%, 11% of our respondents are actually under 18, while majority fall between 18 to 30 years. We can see this is another chart. Male, out of 152 responses, 148 here. Some actually skip that question, and that's why we're having 148. So out of 148, we have 122 to be male, and then we have 26 to be female. So these are charts, and the beauty of it is that you can even copy this chart. For example, I say copy. It has been copied to my clipboard. You can go to, for example, I'll open Microsoft Word document, and then if I open a blank document, I can actually paste the chart that I copied. As you can see, it as a form of an image. It is there that we can use. We can copy it to work through our presentation. You can further copy it to PowerPoint. Open PowerPoint and tell you that you can actually copy this also to PowerPoint, and it makes your presentation or whatever you are doing, it makes it very beautiful. So that is the concept. I'm not going to save this, and then that is the concept, and that is it. So we are going to go further, but for now I want to take a water break, and then I'll see you in module 5. Thank you. This is module 5 of the mastery course for Google Form, and we're actually concluding this particular course. And in this very module, we're looking at some of the add-ons that we can add to our Google Form to make it more appealing and more powerful, and for us to get more out of Google Form. Now, Google Form is great, it's very great, but when you add some add-ons to it, it becomes even better. And we're looking at some of those add-ons that we can add to our form to make it more interesting. Now, the first one I really want to talk about, let me open this particular Google Form that I've prepared to actually teach this. Now, is a digital skill mastery class, and then we want to, of course, have registration. Now, first and foremost, have this form, and then I want to publish. That's the first thing I want to do. So I will simply publish, and then the form is now published. I can copy this and so on and so forth. The first one I really want to talk about is setting form limit, which is actually a very new feature in Google Form. Is new, is Google just introduces in 2026. So that is an option that actually allows us to set a date when the form will automatically close. Before, what we normally do is that we install an add-on that will automatically close the form, but now we have that feature in Google Form itself. Or you can simply turn off the accepting responses manually, but now we can actually do it automatically. So for example, if I just click here, I can set a date that the form will close. So I can choose a date and a time. Let's say, for example, today is 17th. I can say, okay, I want this form to, by 31st of March 2026, I actually want this form to close automatically. And then I even have the option to put the time there. So I can put the time when the form will close. So I can set the date and the time when the form will automatically close. I can set that. So by this date and this time, the form will automatically close and nobody will be able to fill this form again. Or I can set a limit based on the number of responses. For example, let's say I'm looking to have 10 responses. I can just put in 10. Once I put in 10 and I save, and then after 10 responses, the form will automatically close. As you can see, is responses accepted until 10 responses have been received. So once we have 10 responses, automatically the form will actually close. So that is the first thing I want to talk about. The form has been published, and then we have actually looked at the first thing when we are talking about limiting responses. We can close that automatically. That's one. Now, another add-on that is really great for event registration, for people that sell things online and so on and so forth, is what we call the Choice Eliminator add-on. Now, for us to add our add-ons, we need to go to these three dots here, and then we come to Get Add-ons. We click on Get Add-ons, and then take us to the marketplace, the Google Workspace marketplace, where we can search for all forms of add-on that we can add to our form and to other Google stuff. So I'll simply search for form. Sorry, I'll be searching for Choice Eliminator add-on. So it's let me just search for it, and this is the form, and this is it. So I want to actually pick this. There are so many, but I'll begin with this, and then I'm going to store. And then it's going to ask for permission and so on and so forth. So you have to grant it permission. That is the email associated with it. I want to say continue, and then I will simply select all to grant permission so that the add-on will work properly. So you need to do that also, and then we wait for the installation process to actually conclude, and then we launch it. So we have our Choice Eliminator for Google has been installed. I'll click on done, and then I'll close this, and then I can refresh my form, and then we now have a new icon here, this very icon that was not there before, and this is where you find all the add-ons that you may have installed to work with Google Forms. So I'll click on this, and then we have Choice Eliminator. I'm going to click on it, and then I'll click on configure, and then that should open up on this part of the screen. You can decide to maximize it, but I think this is very okay. So simply wait for it to come up, and then we have it. So now the very first thing we need to do is that to actually look at your form and see where we can actually pick the limit, the choice eliminator we actually work. Now, for example, if you look at this form, we want to do a training section on digital master skill, and then we have this very important notice, and then we've said that for each section we simply want only 15 participants, and that is what we want to limit. We want only 15 participants for each of our sections. So I've asked for their full name, I've asked for their email address. Now I also asked for which training they are interested in, data analysis, social media strategy, and this other one. I've asked for that, which is required, and then we have the date, that fit their own schedule. Now that is what we want to actually limit. We want to actually limit this option to 15, 15, 15, and also this date also want to limit them to 15 participants per race. So I will go back to that particular add-on, and then we configure, and then we look at your form. Like I said, you go through your form and pick and see those ones that you can add eliminations. So we have this data analysis with Excel. We want to limit that to 15, and then this we want to limit that to 15 as well, and then we want to limit that to 15 as well. So you can have a lot of configuration to your form. So you can see we have the options, we have the limit, we have the number of responses here as we have it. This is the option, and then this is the question, and then we have the limit, and then we have the number of responses. For now I have 0 responses as far as this is concerned out of 15 that I've set. I have is 0 responses whatsoever. So I'm going to do this, and then we come to the next one that we may want to add. We want to add the choice eliminator, that is the date. Monday, April 6th. How many participants are we actually expecting for that period? I want to limit that to 15. I want to limit this to 15. I want to limit it to 15. So once that actually reach, that option will not be available again, and that is what it does. So it's great for event registration, for people that sell items. You want to know how many you have, how many people are booking, and so on and so forth. It's actually great. So you can do this, that one click apply limit to all choice. I don't want to do that. Let's say, for example, I can actually do that. Let's say, for example, I want to apply 15. So I can actually come here and put 15 here and click on apply, but I actually want to go through it one after the other. And then here it says notify me when choice limit is reached. I want to be notified, and then I have the email that is associated with this Google account there. So once a choice has been reached, when the limit is reached, I'll be notified that, oh, this particular choice has been reached, and this is the email. So it will automatically pull out the email that is actually associated with the account you are using. So if I want it to be strict, I want to click in that sign in is required, which the add-on will actually collect the email of respondent. That will actually require them to sign in. I may want to have limit to 1 responses, but I don't want to do that. But in some cases, you may want to have limit people to 1 responses depending on what you are doing. But here I don't want to do that. Here too I don't want to do that. And then we want to take the send respondent a copy of their responses. If you want that, you can actually pick that. You can show limit, which I want to do. I want to show the limit the responses count for each choices. I want to do that, so I will leave this open. And then we have the option limit reach action. So once the limit, for example, once this limit is reached 15, what do I actually want this add-on to do? I want it to disable and strike through, or I want it to add it. Any of this will work. So it will disable it, people will not be able to pick again, or it will completely hide it from the option. So whichever one that you want, you can actually pick it. But here, let me just have it to be strike through. Now close form when all choices limit is reached. You want to have this, that once all available slot has been reached, just close the form automatically. And then we have the custom close message for so we want to put a custom message there. I have that custom message on my clipboard. Let me just put it there. I have that custom message there. So we want to explain why people are not getting that. So I have that custom message, and then this one says allow external sharing with only trusted domains. No, all of that. So we have all of this. Now once you are done with the settings, you simply have to click on save. Just click on save, or you can simply preview. I can click here to preview what I'm actually doing. For example, I have this form, and then we have it. So this is the preview, but let me just simply go back. So we have the form saved, the setting is saved, and then we can actually copy. This is the new link that we're supposed to use. Now we are not supposed to use the former link that we generated from Google form, but here we are supposed to use the new link that is provided by this add-on. We actually want that to work. So let's look at the preview. Let's see what's going to happen, and then we have it. So you can simply put your name, then put in your email address, and then you can have this. You can see that here say data analysis with Excel, we only have 15 and it's 0 out of 15. So you can see the number of limit that we have is clearly displayed. We want to pick this, and then you can see I want to pick this, and then I can submit the form. Now you can see that says the responses has been submitted. Now let's go back and see what is happening. Let's say I want to fill another. And then once I come here, you can see that here, and the first choice I picked, I will now have 1 of 15. So once this limit is reached, this option is automatically will be strike through and will not be available again for selection. Now let me do something so that we can all see what is going on. Let's say, for example, let me come back to the limit and then maybe limit this. Okay, let me limit this to 1. Let me limit this to 1, and then let me limit this also to 1. And then we can save it, and then we look at well how that will affect the what we are doing. So now that we have it, so now let's preview what we have done and let's feed in the form. Now we have, let's just fill in anything, and then you can see that here 1 of 15, and then we have this to be 1, so only 1 selection is available. I'll pick that, and then this, I'm going to pick this, and then I will submit and see what's going to happen. Now let's try and submit another response and see how Chelsea Eliminator works. Now once I just click here, you can see that this social media strategy and ad is already strike through and is not available for me to pick again. So it's not available, so I can only pick here, I can only pick here. So once the number of limit is reached, that option will be unavailable for selection again. So this is really great if you are organizing an event, you want to limit the number of participants, the number of people that will attend a particular section. This is really very great. And if you are a content creator, a teacher, and you want to limit the number of people that you attend to at a particular time, or you want to simply have an event that you want to book, consult and all of that, or you simply sell product and services and you have certain number that you want to put online. For example, let's say you have 5 printers you want to sell, put it online, put the choice eliminator. Once people select, it will actually work very fine. So as you can see, this date also, because that limit is reached, is strike through and is not available for us to choose again. So this is really very great and really very useful. All right, another add-on that we want to actually look at is called the timer for Google Form, which is actually beautiful for teachers and educators. If you want to time your quiz that you give to your audience, so let's just add timer to our form. For example, we simply come here, let's try and add the add-on, click on get add-on, and then we want to say timer for Google Form. This is timer for Google Form, and you want to pick this. There are many options that are available, but this is actually very good. So let's install it and grant permission for it to access your Google account. So you need to grant permission to it, then click on continue, and then the add-on will be installed, and then it is done. So I'll click on this, and then let me simply refresh, and then let's launch the add-on. We click here, and then we have timer for Google Form, and then I want to open. All right, that's the form timer. Let's say this quiz, I want to set it to like, this is just a 5 no, yeah, we have timer to Google Form. It requires sign in, so we try to sign in. So we have the timer for Google Form, that should come up immediately after signing in, and then we have it. So we have these options for us to allocate time, and then as you can see that it is checked. So if it's unchecked, so you have to check it, and then how many hours do you want to give, how many minutes do you want to give. Let's say, for example, this quiz, let's say I want to give 1 hour 30 minutes. Let's say 1 hour 30 minutes, and then I have it. So once that is set, I will simply copy this link, and then I'll open a new browser. Let me open that link and see what we have. And then you see that the timer for Google Form is working, and it's really very simple to actually add. And as you can see, that is actually give us what we want. It says time allow is 1 hour 30 minutes, and then it says this assessment is timed. Good luck. And then it requires that you just put in your name, and then you continue. So that is how it's actually work. Well, for example, let me come back and say, okay, I don't want to give an hour. Let's say I want to give at least 2 minutes. So I'll copy this. I'll open on a new tab, and then you have it 2 minutes. So let me just put in something, and then I will start the quiz, and then you can see the time is running out. I will simply take my email, and then we have the name. I want to have the name, and then since we have that, this quiz, let me just quickly click through, and then this answer here, click through, and then this answer here. You want to click on next, and then it says just submit. So we are going to submit, and then we click on OK, and then it says view your score, and then you see. So as we just go on, you can see that the timing is simply counting down. As we work, the timing is simply counting down. This is actually very great for teachers, educators. As you can see, the timing is counting down. It's very great if you want to actually time your quiz and whatsoever, which is actually very great. So just install it, and then you just try it. Now, one thing that is good about it is that if the time actually elapsed and that fellow has not submitted, the form will automatically, it will be submitted by the form timer, which is actually great for CBT exam and so on and so forth. So that's another add-on that we have actually looked at. Let's look at one or two other before we actually all right, welcome. Now another add-on I want to talk about is the form builder for Google Form. For that, what you need to do is that, let's say you want to assess your student, if you're a teacher, or you want to conduct a survey, you can actually build a Google Form from maybe a Google Sheet or a Google Doc without you having to fill in the Google Form one after the other. So what you have to do is that just upload whatever format that you have to your drive. For example, I have this MS Word CSV file as a form of stuff which I've uploaded to my drive. That's the first thing I need to do. Then I'm going to right click here, and then I will say open with I'll open that with a Google Sheet, and let's see what we have in that particular. So I will open that with Google Sheet. Now that we have opened with Google Sheet, now we have the questions, the options. So we can actually load this from here to Google Form immediately without having to do it manually. An add-on called the Google Form Builder. Form Builder will actually help us to do that. So we'll go to extension, and then we launch it. If you have not added the add-on, just click on Get Add-on. Once you click on Get Add-on, I've actually installed it. So just search for Form Builder. Form Builder. Yeah. So actually, this is the add-on is actually installed. You can see it. This is the Form Builder for Sheet. It's actually installed, so I don't need to install it. So once you install it, come to extension and click on Form Builder, and then you click on Start. That should actually come up on the other side of your screen this way, and then you simply wait for it to do. It's actually very simple to set up. So I will simply say not now. Now we want to start. Let's start using our form. So I will maintain this to be a full. I want to actually take all of this. I'll maintain it to be full, and then I'll simply, because it has actually detected that I want to have it as a quiz. So I now have it as a quiz. But if it's a question and answer or a question like a survey, you can actually pick this. But since it's a quiz, I want to set up a quiz, then I'll actually pick this. Then I want to say that, okay, the range include header. That is, the first line here is an header. Here, these are headers. So the range includes an header. And then you can see from A, question at column A, I have my question from column A here. This is where my questions are. And then another important field that we have to fill is that answer start at where? Answer start at column B. So we have the question on column A, answer from column B to column E. That is where we have the question. So the answer, so answer starts at column B and then ends at what column? It ends at column E. That is where our answer ends. So from B to E, that's 4 options per question. Now, correct answer, where do I have my correct answer? My correct answer is in column F. This is column F here. So I'll simply come here and say, okay, I have my correct answer in column F, and then point at column G, and this is where I have my marks, the point allocated. This is where I have it. So point at down. So with that, you can simply click on get, or if you want to explore the advanced options. But with what we have set up, I think we are good to go. So we simply click on get, and let's see how we are able to convert this Google Sheet into Google Form using the form builder. So we create a new Google Form. So you can see the title, MS Word. I want to have it. So we simply allow it to create, and then you have it. Click on import now. I'll click on import now. I want to import the question into Google Form, and then you can see that it says excellent, data imported, and Google Form no, is done. I can now then open it, and then you see it. So we have actually converted what we have in our Google Sheet to Google Form without having us to do it manually. And this is actually very great. As you can see, it's actually very great, and it has actually made the questions compulsory by default, but you can actually look at all of that to see what you want to do. So for example, one thing I want to do here is that we want to add, I'll take this and ask for, okay, for example, I'll say full name. Because a quiz, I need the name of my student. I want to say full name, and then here, no, I don't want to give any point, so I'll come here and say it's 0 points. I don't want to give any point for full name, and then I'll mark it as required. I want to duplicate and ask for the email. For email, short answer, and then I also want to make it require, and then I have 0 points. So in total, I have 100 points here in total. We have actually built this form. We can then publish it, and then just publish, and then we are good to go. So we have actually published our form that we created from Google Sheet. So that's another add-on that's actually great for educators. I use it a lot to set up quizzes, especially for my courses that I posted on YouTube. So I use it a lot. And then another thing that I want to do, that which I also believe in with this, is that we actually have an add-on that is called Certify'em, that we can use to set certificate to participants. Maybe you organize a lecture, a quiz, or you want to send certificate to your participant automatically. You can actually do that. Now that we have actually done this, we can say, okay, this is a quiz. Now let's set up a certificate system that everyone that actually answered this quiz, they get a certain mark. We want to give them a certificate. So let's do that. We want to actually deal with Certify'em, and then I'll click on get add-ons, and then we want to search for Certify'em, and then we have it. So this is it. I want to install this. I want to actually install, continue, or grant access for it to actually work. How to grant access. This is actually a great way for everyone, conferences, seminars, your teacher, everything. You can actually send certificate of participation whatsoever automatically to everyone that will participate. So let's see how to do that. We say install, and then I'll close. I'm going to refresh, and then I want to look at this add-on here, and then we have it to be certified. So I'll click on show control, and then we want to set it up. Alright, let's get started. So no, I want to say continue. I will agree. Alright, so the automatic certificate is turned off, and then we can turn it on. Form. Let me link it to a form. For example, I'll create go to responses, and then I'll say link to sheet. I'll create, and then I'll create a new sheet for it, and then we have a new sheet. So I can come back to this very place, and let's see what we have. So certificate record, you can look at it. No certificate yet, so that's the record for us. My pass mark, let's say I want to set my pass mark to 50 or 60. You can actually set it to whatever. So but let me keep it at 60 for this particular course. And then template, you want to look at template that we have. This is actually a template that has been presented to us automatically. You can get a sample. If you click on email me a sample, you can change the template here, and then it is actually loading template. You can look at some of the template that you want as a form of your certificate. So let's see, you can see that we have this template. We have this, we have this, we have this. So you can look at the template that you actually want and select for this particular exercise, or you can create your own customized template and then just use. So let me just go with what has been presented to me by Form Builder. I will save changes rather. Alright, actually done for us. So you can click on Advanced to get advanced options. We want to actually explore all of the advanced options. So you can have the message that will be shown upon submission to everyone, this is very okay, but you can actually edit this. Or if you want to send a CC copy, you can click here. Well, I don't need to do that. Email option, you can want to put the name of sender, subject of email, and then you want to put the content of the email. You can actually do that. If you want to send a copy, you can do that. So, and then you want your certificate to be in form of a PDF, send as a PDF, share via email, all of that. So you have all of these changes. We want to click on save, just exploring, and then we have all of that. So let's try and fill this form and see what we click. Certificate is on. We can link into form, you can turn it off, but it's actually on. And then we'll set our record to maybe percentage pass. Now let me say 75. So everyone that's got 75 and above will automatically be sent a certificate. So you need to set your passing percentage depending on what you want to do. But let me just put it to 60. So everyone with 60% we actually get an email automatically with a certificate. So once you properly set it up and everything works, for example, we have this one responses which are actually quickly answered myself. You will click here, you will see that it actually keep a record of all the certificate. You can see the timestamp, the email, the name, and every other thing. And then you can see the score, and then you see the percentage score, and then it says pass, and then it even gives a certificate ID, which we actually see. For example, if I just go to my email address, and then you see this is the sample certificate, but the certificate that is actually attached to me, you will see it here, and then we click to open it. Just click to open it to see that we have all of the important information for us. So you can see the name, everything. You have the date, you have with passing score 90%, certificate ID. You can see certificate ID, and then made for free with. So all of these, if you actually upgrade to the pay plan, you can remove this watermark and all of that. Or better still, you can simply make use of AutoCAD. Is actually does the same thing certify them. This is actually wonderful. Thank you so much for staying with me since the beginning of this course. I'll be leaving a link in the description whereby you can try to attempt the quiz for this particular course so that you can get a certificate, an e-certificate from AutoCAD. I'll actually be using AutoCAD, and maybe in future lessons I'll be covering how you can actually send e-certificate using AutoCAD, or you can simply use the one I've covered here, which is Certify'em. Thank you so much. I'll see you in future courses. Thank you.